It might sound strange, but I wish it would rain.
I would argue that they are incredibly co-opted, and it's very under the radar that none of us really understand. And one of the most important regulators in the state, and why don't they do their job? So it really is a
I think
continuum of
I'm
experiences.
sorry, they've been doing really well by me, so.
Well, you know, the glass is either half full or half empty.
No, the glass is full of water.
With selenium.
They're not doing nearly enough, and they're doing a better job than any water board in decades.
Exactly.
So,
Given that the entire state is Chinatown.
I just thought of something before you go to your second question. It was time for a litmus test on state water board appointees. Who's running for governor? Kamala? Who else?
All the players to be named.
Yeah, so here's
Well,
your-
Kamala's actually running for
Kamala's
Senate.
running for Senate,
So-
Yusuf's running
so
for
for-
governor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Potrero Hill Democratic Club is going to start a litmus test on gubernatorial candidates on water board appointees.
I like that. So speaking of good litmus tests and good community organizing, Adam had said that one of the things we all need to do is get organized and start caring about water. And it sounds like Bernie has a group that he's done just to do that. So why don't you tell us?
Wait, I just had one more question, just one more.
I'm so sorry. We're gonna let Jody ask one more question, then we're gonna ask.
What,
we're gonna go
okay,
to
what
Bernie.
is the impact of bottled water companies on the groundwater?
Yes, please. Well, because the groundwater legislation hasn't kicked in yet, it doesn't apply to them, and because most,
Doesn't apply to?
yeah, well, it's not regulated yet, so they get to pump, as long as the county gives them permission to pump. You know, one of the big unsung bad guys of California water is county government. They're the reason why you have hundreds of communities that don't have safe drinking water, because they ignored them for years, or let them build where they shouldn't build. They're the ones who issue well permits, as long as you pay for, like by getting a marriage license, you can get a well permit to dig a huge irrigation well that sucks your neighbor's groundwater. So I'd say that it's the county.
Well, they serve at the behest of the developers in Big Ed.
Exactly.
It's
everywhere.
much easier to
Counties
control
everywhere.
5 to 11 county boards of supervisor
Yeah.
members than the rest of the water infrastructure in Sacramento. You know, that was the Ken Lake precursor to do, is co-opt the fewest number of people possible to get the majority vote. Bernie.
I have a question based on the fact that it takes 4 to 5 years to finance and capitalize the disaster that has already occurred, will continue to occur. So the disaster that is occurring now is not curable or mitigatable by turning to California. So my question is, what can you advise at the federal level? I, of course, make several suggestions, but given the fact that the public trust is in conflict with the idea of the Latin inherited riparian rights, the fact that we can go to a federal appeals court, which is friendly to the 9th district, the fact that we can go to a president and say resurrect the National Resources Planning Board, which gave us all the planning and water resource legislation during the New Deal. Just letting us, what are your ideas on this?
I'm just the moderator.
Now you're asking questions,
That's a
But this is a
really
really good summation.
that's a really good question, and we've been talking about mostly about the state of California and its role, but boy, when you look at the federal agencies, boy, they are broken. The federal agencies, for good or bad, mostly bad, played an enormous role. For the Bureau of Reclamation, you can criticize them, but they knew how to get stuff done. There's a lot of bad stuff. But today, our federal agencies are just a shadow of what they formerly were. So agencies like the Bureau and the Corps of Engineers, boy.
I'm talking about a class action.
Good question. I mean, for decades, my goal has always been to try to get the federal regulators to do their jobs. But the agencies that actually tried to plan solutions, the Bureau and the Corps, boy, it's tough to get those agencies to do anything proactive and smart right now.
Although I will give you this, BLM is stopping Keith Brackpool from selling water out of the Mojave Desert.
Yeah.
And you gotta tip your hat to them, because I never thought BLM would stand up to one of the largest groundwater owners in Southern California.
The Bureau of Land Management
Yeah.
permits PG&E to dam leases that expired in 1970.
Oh, don't I know that? And Bernie, you to Adam's point, which is we really do need some people power movements here. And you've formed one, so tell us about it.
Well, it's contributing to something called the California Power that uses electric heat, for which PG hired frequent permits to kill me. So if you want to face assassination, I can tell you all about this. Jerry Drought was the governor who decided New Solid Burning. So
I
I'm
thought you said that
saying,
you had a local.
Sign me up.
That's fine.
locally, I'm saying, you want to organize, you get the courts to go to the federal level, and you deal with it there.
He
You
wants to
aren't
organize a
gonna
class
get
action
anything
lawsuit.
out of Jerry Brown, who wants to finance it.
Okay. Now, I saw one other hand, and you're going to be our last question.
With all the overdrafting in the Central Valley, is it too late to use treated wastewater to try and recharge the groundwater?
Well, you could, but there's a couple issues. One is the scale is so much different. So the San Joaquin Valley probably uses, I don't know, maybe 12 million acre feet a year,
More
maybe
than
12,
that,
20. So if you think all of urban California uses 6 to 8 million acre feet, ag uses 32 million acre feet, and more than half of that is in the San Joaquin Valley. So you just don't have enough treated wastewater to recharge groundwater in the places where it's being overdrafted. Also, in the Central Valley, the treated wastewater goes into the rivers to provide flow. So that wastewater, if you put it in the groundwater, someone downstream is going to lose their water supply. So the ultimate recycling machine in California is the San Joaquin River. And that's, so it's not really doable.
There's a lot of water, of treated wastewater in California. And the trouble is, in the coastal areas.
It goes in the ocean.
And there are three big problems to using that in the Central Valley. The first problem is the capital cost of building pipelines to get it there is huge. Second is the energy cost would be huge. But the third problem is a much bigger problem, and that is cities increasingly look at their wastewater and they don't see it as waste anymore. They see it as tomorrow's water supply. So cities don't want to give up their wastewater. They're looking at that as where they're going to get their water supply from so they can get through that 10-year-long drought.
So what can we in this room do? What's the thing that you would recommend that we do now and in the next year would be the most effective? And whatever else you would like to say was that before we go.
Oh, well, I forgot to bring a petition. That would have made a difference like that. Check out our website, foodandwaterwatch.org. We'll keep you posted on when the fight. You guys have a lot of battles. I'm sure. So when we need a water fight, I'll send you an email. We'll do a water fight.
With you.
Yeah. So timing. Also, we're gonna sing. I'm not kidding. We are a little shameless self-promotion. One of the top chamber choirs in San Francisco, Capella San Francisco, they're really into food and water right now. So they're going to be doing a performance at the Mission, 16th and Dolores, and a program inspired to protect the earth and water. And about to mention if you want
When
to be
is it?
inspired. That's Saturday, November 7th. We don't usually typically
After the election.
after the election. We don't typically do these things, so no, yeah. So we're gonna sing. You gotta visit our website, and we're gonna keep talking about water all the time. How about water every year?
Yeah.
Water every year.
Invite us back. We'll do this.
Water every year.
Yeah.
I'd say, it's really important that the legislature is getting more and more moderate. It's becoming more and more difficult to protect the environment. It's not so much passing protective legislation, it's preventing attacks. And one thing that's important is making sure our legislators are strong, and right now they all are, but there's a turnover coming. And so we have a Republican in Livermore, we have several legislators who have voted wrong on issues like the oil and gas, water quality legislation that our organization ran this year. So it's very important. And also I have to say, one of the worst people on dams and drinking water, or dams I would say, in my term in the legislature was Fiona Hahn. who never saw a dam she didn't like and was hand in hand with agriculture. How many farms are in the Sunset? I don't know, but she was defending them tooth and nail. So I have to say that you need to, right now, you know, our legislative team, David Chu, are doing a good job. They're voting the right way. Mark Leno's leaving, we're gonna have someone in his place, and we just wanna be sure that they are gonna represent our strong environmental leanings in the legislature. Because remember, they don't see us every day. They see the lobbyists every day. So if you run an oil and gas bill, you get maybe 3 or 4 environmental lobbyists working it, and then WISPA hires 20. They hire every single lobbyist available to fight it. That's typical. The money spent on lobbying in Sacramento is outrageous, and ag has a lot of it. And so trying to
Just
Sorry.
reinforcing that.
Just reinforcing.
I'm serious, the candidate questionnaire litmus test for all y'all who make endorsements on these issues, we need to start having some water. in that question.
Well, I had an ag question for the state assembly, and one reason why San Francisco Tomorrow didn't endorse the person who currently holds the West Side Assembly seat is because he responded to a question when the twin tunnels are built. And it's a very small word, but it's very significant for people who live in San Francisco. And I think you ought to have a litmus test question that you can see the answer to that.
Simple thing you can do tomorrow morning. Who's the next Speaker of the House likely to be? Kevin McCarthy from Bakersfield. That is the heart of, maybe not, but still probably the next Speaker of the House. According to his local farmers, his #1 job is to pass legislation gutting every environmental statute protecting water resources in the Bay Delta. The legislation I mentioned that has already passed the House, is being heard by the Senate. None of us know. Boxer was great last year on these issues. We don't know where Feinstein's going to land on this issue. So tomorrow morning, call both of your senators and tell them.
She's a Republican.
Pardon me?
She's a Republican.
So tomorrow, one of the things you can do, and it's relevant right now, call both of your senators' offices tomorrow morning and tell them to oppose every single piece of the House passed bill. It's called the Valadeo bill. Their strategy is
Valadeo, that's the representative.
2898.
VALLADAO.
Can you leave us that in writing, because
We'll put it up on our website.
Thank you.
On the Rivera Hill Democratic Party website.
It'll make a difference. None of us know how that fight is going to turn out this year. It's going to be a huge fight in Congress and agriculture. Big ag in the Central Valley is trying to gut as many environmental statutes as they can possibly.
On that scary note, thank you very much.